Boys, we're back and we got part 2 of a video I did a few months ago earlier in the year. We got every single card, pay-per-view, non-pay-per-view, we got it all. We're going to do some tier lists here. As you can see from last video, if you didn't watch the first episode, this is what we have laid out. This was every pay-per-view we had up until, then. As you can see, S tier, I have UFC 300. D tier, I have Rosenstrike versus Gaziev as the worst fight. For S tier and D tier, so best and worst, I'm only gonna have one fight in those categories. So we're gonna figure out which fight this year was the best and which one was the worst. I have around 40 in total, every single card, 42 fight cards. We're gonna run through them all, do some tier list right now. As you can see, B is a little bit inflated compared to everything else. I'm probably gonna do some switching around towards the end. Right now I like it how it is, but I think we should go in order. So the next one up here would be Barboza versus Murphy, and I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the very forgettable fight cards this year, and to be honest, it's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, it's not as bad as some of these other guys. We had some prospects on this card like Alatang, we had Omar Sy, Abus Magomedov, we had some prospects, but all around it was pretty mid. I'm gonna put it in C tier. It wasn't that special. Then up, UFC 302, and a lot of people hated on UFC 302. I'm not gonna lie, I think it was decent for what it was. Yes, it was one of the worst pay-per-views this year. I don't feel good having Strickland versus DDP there. I do still think DDP versus Strickland was the worst pay-per-view this year. A lot of people say it's 302. 302, we had Ism versus Poirier, Sean Strickland versus Costa. That was a little bit of a snoozer of a fight. Kevin Holland, Michelle Olejuskic, Nico Price, Alex Morono, Randy Brown versus Dos Santos. I mean, I can understand. I think I'm looking at these cards now. Yeah, this pay-per-view is pretty shit, to be honest. And I think I'm going to move it to C tier because of how bad it was, I think if the Sean Strickland Paulo Costa fight was a little bit more entertaining, we could probably move it up. But yeah, I understand why people don't like this card now. At first, like hindsight, I wasn't really getting it. I understand now. Next up, we had Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imaevov. This fight card was fun. We finally saw the comeback of Dominic Reyes coming back into that winning section. We had Raul Roses Jr. on this card. We had some fun, interesting matches. It's not like this was a super boring fight. Honestly, it was like on par. 50% finishes, 50% decisions. And that main card, everything was a finish except for the opener. Honestly, this is one of the better cards. I'm going to put it up here. Probably above all of these ones, and to be honest, all of these they might need to be moved down, but we'll do that towards the end because I don't really like these placements right now. Next up, we also had a fight night. Alex Perez, Tatsuro Taira. This was an okay fight card. Like, realistically, I'm looking at this card, it was pretty ass. Like, I'll go through. Co-main event was Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles John. Co-main, Timothy Kumba taking on Lucas Almeida. I'm putting it down here as one of the worst ones. And, the main event was fun, very lackluster. It's one of the worst fight cards we had, though. I'm putting it right down here. I still think this Rosenstrike card was by far the worst, but it's up there, this card. Moving down, we had a banger of a fight night card. Whitaker versus Aliskerov. This was an Saudi Arabia card. One of the best non-pay-per-view fight cards. Let's just run through co-main event. Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. Kevin Gastelum, Daniel Rodriguez. Shara Bullet taking on Antonio Trocoli. Johnny Walker, Volkan Oezdemir. Main card and prelims, honestly, really, really fun. I think this is one of the best non-pay-per-views that we had. I'm putting it straight up there in A tier. After that, we had UFC 303, which was, okay. It was supposed to be Conor versus Chandler. We know what happened. Last minute, we got Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka. The lead up to this fight was insane. I love the whole lead up. I love the fact that Yuri decided to take the angle of some black voodoo magic. I thought that shit was hilarious. Then we had Dan Ige, Diego Lopez. Supposed to be Lopez versus Ortega. Last minute, we had to get Dan Ige in there. Then we had Anthony Smith, Roman Dolidze. Stinker. Mayra Bueno Silva, Macy Casson. Stinker. Then we had Ian Gary versus MVP. That was a fun matchup. A little bit of a stinker as well, though. And then into that, the prelims, honestly, the prelims were really fun. Everything KO except for Cub Swanson versus Andre Philly. Prelims, Prelims are okay. A bunch of legends, like we saw, I think this is a card we saw Michelle Watterson hang them up, and then I think this is where Arlovsky also got cut. It was a okay card, definitely not the worst pay-per-view of the year. I don't think it deserves to go in A tier though. I'll put it top of B tier. Because to be honest, I think these other ones were better. The main event practically saved this card in my opinion. The main event was the best fight on this card. Moving down, Felgrows versus Cortez. I remember this being an okay fight card. And yeah, very, very mid. Nothing special about it whatsoever. The highlight was there were some good knockouts. I'm looking here now. Montel Jackson got a first round 18-second knockout over Damon Blackshear. That was fun. Then we kind of saw not a fraud check, but like I would consider it a fraud check, I'm not gonna lie, of Joshua Van getting knocked out by Charles Johnson. He ended up having a good comeback. He had 2 fights this year, and to be honest, looked really good. And then other than that, the Gene Silva versus Drew Dober fight was arguably one of the best fights we had this year. I'm looking at it, I'm pumping these ones up. Then, other than that, you know, one of the fun moments was Rose Namajunas knocking off the eyelash of Tracy Cortez. I'm probably gonna put it, I would say right here, right below the Jared Cannonier fight. There were some stinkers, but there's some, I mean, there were some super nice knockouts, and then a fight of the year contender in that Drew Dober Gene Silva fight. I'm putting it right up here, to be honest. I think this is a really fun fight card. Keep moving down though. We also had, this was a stinker. I'm looking at it right now. Ugh, disgusting. Amanda Lemos, Vivian Janaribia. Terrible fight card. I remember, I'm pretty sure, let me just quickly look before I say anything crazy. This is the worst fight of the year so far. Worst fight card by a mile. Terrible. I remember just honestly not even really worth watching. I'm gonna quickly look and see if there's any notable fights on this card. I mean, honestly, there's not. I'm trying to, there's really nothing notable to look at for these fights. Garbaggio, in my opinion. Let's go over to 304 now. 304, Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad. Where do we put this now? I think, you know, we had a double champ fight on this card. We had Leon Edwards and Aspinall on this card. We had Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. That was a really fun matchup. Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Gregory Rodriguez. Arnold Allen, Giga Shikaziad. Prelims, was it prelims anything notable? I mean, not really. You know, this is where we had Muhammad getting cut from the UFC against Manel Kape. That was pretty fun on this fight card, I'm not gonna lie. Early prelims, it was okay. I'll put it, I don't think it deserves to go into A tier. I'm going to put it top of B tier, right with Yuri Prochazka. Just because we had like a double champ headliner. The main card was really fun, you know. The whole main card, honestly. So I think it deserves top of B. Maybe towards the end of the video, I'll put it in A tier depending on how it goes on. But top of B seems fine for right now. Then another straight up amazing fight card, UFC on ABC. We have Sandhagen taking on Nurmagomedov. Just a crazy good fight card, you know. For the main card, Corey versus Umar. Then we had Shara Bullet versus Michelle, Chito Vera, Davison Figueiredo, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chiesa, Mackenzie Dern, Lubi Godinez, Joel Alvarez, Elvis Brenner. I mean, that main card, so many of those fights could be just main events by themselves. And then the early prelims, they were okay. Nothing special, but still one of the better cards we had this year. And do I put it above some of the, like, it looks wrong having some of these fights above pay-per-views in my opinion, but that main card was stacked. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm gonna put it A tier. I'll put it top of B. Again, towards the end we'll do some fine tuning, but I like it right here. Moving down, another UFC Fight Night card. Oh, this is a garbage fight card too. Ugh, disgusting. We had Tybura versus Spivak 2. Garbage fight night card. Co-main event was Damon Jackson versus Chappelle Mariscal. And other than that, I'm trying to see if there's any notable fights on this card. And yeah, it really wasn't. I think this is worse than, is it worse? It might, I'm putting it worse. It has to be honest. The Lemos versus Janaribia at least had some entertaining moments, where this one, no. This was the worst fight card so far. Let's go into 305 now. 305, a monster of a pay-per-view. We had DDP taking on Adesanya. Co-main events, Kai Kara France, Steve Ercik. Lightweight, we had Dan Hooker finally gain a win over Matus Gamrot, ending his winning streak. Heavyweight, sad to see Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Welterweight, even sadder to see. We saw Carlos Pradas put out my boy the Leech. This main card was one of the better main cards we had this year. Prelims, trying to see if there's anything notable in the prelims. I mean, we had Jack Jenkins gain that third round TKO over Herbert Burns. Pretty expected, I'm not gonna lie. Early prelims, I mean, nothing super out of the world, but it was fun. It definitely deserves A tier. Do I think it deserves over Pantoja versus Steve Ercik, though? I do, honestly. Do I think it goes over Volkanovski and Taporia? No, these three are like the best fights of the year so far. These three are just powerhouses, but DDP's not that far behind. Let's keep moving down. Another fight night card. Another Jared Cannonier main event. This one was kind of sad, though, because we did see him get put out by Brohalio. Co-main event, nothing special. Tabitha Ricci taking on Angela Hill. And after that, a bunch of not really big name guys. We had Neil Magny losing to Michael Morales. Morales getting into the top 15 from that win. Edmund Shabazian getting submitted by GM3, the legend himself. Prelims, I mean, yeah, prelims, nothing special. This is where we saw Wang Kong come in here and get that first round highlight reel knockout. After that, we kind of saw her get fraud checked, but this was a good fight card. I think it goes right there, to be honest. I think it's better than all of these ones, and not quite to the level of these pay-per-views and this ABC card. Moving down, another UFC fight night, Burns versus Brady. This was a fun card, nothing that special either. Co-main event, we had a women's fight of Jessica Andrade, Natalia Silva, and I'm trying to just quickly see, was there anything really that notable in this card? Not really, you know. Yeah, we had some fun moments here. I'm even looking at the prelims, but it was just a standard mid fight card, to be honest. I'll probably put it comfortably right here. I like it here. I think I'm gonna move because it just doesn't look right having a pay-per-view in C tier. So I'll put the Burns versus Brady in the top of C tier. Moving down, 306. I just realized I have 306 right here when it was supposed to be this one, but we'll still move it down. 306, one of the better. I was saying this and it wasn't even that great. I think I have to put it here just because of the sphere. So for the people who are wondering, it was supposed to be this O'Malley versus Vera 2. That was supposed to be right here. It is what it is. I still think it deserves to be top of A tier. I think it is better than all of these ones. The fights themselves were fun, you know. Plus we also had the sphere. The sphere just made it even better. I think, you know, maybe the fights themselves weren't as good as some of these other ones, but the sphere helped bring it up. So I'm putting it here. I might be overhyping the sphere, but I just have it here. Moving down, a banger of a fight night card. We have Money Moicano versus Saint Denis. One of the better main events we had this year for non-pay-per-views. Co-main event was good too. Nasruddin Imavov taking on Brendan Allen. Then we had William Gomez gain a win, which I don't think he really deserved, over Joe Anderson Brito. After that, Brian Battle, Kevin Doucette. We had Brian Battle going crazy in that post-fight interview. Morgan Charrier, Gabriel Miranda, Fares Ziam taking on Matt Favola. You know, it was a good main card. I believe this is in Paris, I think. You know, I could be wrong about that, but somewhere in France at least. This was a good fight card. Now, where does it go, to be honest? I think it goes above Moreno, honestly, because that main card, that main event itself, was one of the better main events we had. We had Moicano just dominating Saint Denis and blooding him up. Moving down, 307. We're almost done here. We don't have that many left. We have Pereira yet again versus Khalil Roundtree. This main event was, everyone was on the edge of their seat watching this one, so it automatically at least has to go top of B tier. Because I'm looking at it right now, you know, co-main event, Raquel Pennington, Juliana Pena, disgusting. Featured fight, Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista, you know, everyone hated Mario Batista after that. Then after that, we had Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland, where he broke his arm or something like that. Then to open up, we had Ketlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison, Garbaggio. After that, we had Buckley KOing Steven Thompson. Yeah, this is one of the weaker ones that we had here. And to be honest, I'm probably going to keep it top of B tier. Other than the main event, fights were ass. Let's be realistic. Let's go down. Fight night again. Royval versus Tyra. Main event was good. Co-main event was decent. Featured fight, Other than that, just a mid-fight card. I'm looking at it now. Even the Even the prelims weren't anything special. It was okay. I don't know if I feel good about having some of these pay-per-views lower than these fight night cards. It just looks weird to me. Tyra versus Royval, though. I do think it should be around here. Again, I think I'm going to do something with these pay-per-views. I don't think it deserves to be this low. Let's keep moving down, though. Another good fight night card here where we had a huge fraud check. We had Hernandez versus Pereira. After that, another fraud check of Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips. Charles Johnson versus Sue. I'm not even going to pronounce his last name. Jake Hadley was on here. I mean, it was decent. Another decent fight card. Nothing out of this world. I think, honestly, right here, nothing that special. Moving down 308. We're very close here. We had Taporia versus Holloway. One of the better UFC pay-per-views we had this year. We had Chimaev. I think I'm going to bump it up after this one too. Chimaev and Kalaya. I mean, this fight card was stacked. This might be, yeah, I think I'm going to have to put this second, right behind UFC 300. This was stacked. Like, main card, Ilya versus Holloway. Co-main, Robert Whittaker, Chimaev. Featured, Magomed versus Raki. Then we had Murphy versus Dan Ige. Shara Bullet versus Armin Petrosian, just stacked, deserves to be second place right now, in my opinion. Moving down, another good fight card, Moreno versus Albazi. I do remember this being one of the better cards recently. Blanchfield versus Namajunas, Kyle Brajo versus Robert versus Brenson Ribeiro. And then maybe I'm just lying because this was a Canada card, right? It was mid. Now that I'm looking back at it, probably I do think this Moreno fight was better, to be honest. I think it goes right between these two, to be honest. It wasn't anything special. Now that I'm really watching it, it was good. It's still B tier, but it was mid. Let's keep moving down. Another semi mid fight card. This was a pretty recent one. Neil Magny, Carlos Prates. Again, it's mid. I've realized 2024 we've had a lot of mid fight cards, and probably above these guys, probably above this one too. And then I think here's fine, to be honest. Maybe above this one too, because I remember this one wasn't that special. But let's keep moving down. UFC 309. We got John Jones, Stipe Miocic. I mean, it was stacked, semi-stacked. That the main event, who really cares? I'm gonna go top of, do I want to go top of B or bottom of A? I think top of B maybe, because I'm looking at these prelims, early prelims. I mean, they're okay. I'll go top of A or bottom of A. But with that being said, we only got a few more left. One of the better pay-per-views this year, or non-pay-per-views, Figgy versus Yan. Do I think it was better than a pay-per-view card? No, I don't. But it is close. It was a good fight card. Deserves to be an A tier. We got 3 more left. UFC 310. 310, it was also good. I think it was better than Stipe, to be honest. I think it goes right there. 2 more to go through now. 1 more to go through. What am I talking about? One of the better fight cards we had this year. Buckley versus Covington. I'm probably going to put it might be recency bias, but it was a good-ass fight card. I think I'm putting it right there. Perfect. Now let me quickly run down this and see, am I tripping on some of these ones? Like, especially these pay-per-views. I don't feel good having the pay-per-views this low, so I'm going to move them up to here. And then other than that, I think this shit's like perfect. Best fight card, best fight of the years was UFC 300. Worst one, Spivak versus Tybura, number 2. You guys have to let me know in the comments below, because this is every single fight card this year. What do you guys think? In your opinion, what was the best card? What was the worst card? What do you think of this tier list? I have a bunch stacked up in B tier, because I think, to sum it up, this year had some really good fight cards, but a lot of mid fight cards as well, with a few stinkers here and there. But let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? And yeah, there's really not that much else left to say, except for I will see you guys in my next video.